Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. And it reads, "And that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Power of Israel, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai, Ruha Kodash. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth and humbleness, sincerity. Again, I'm going to say Shalom. Short article, few precepts, and we're going to end it. Coming from an international source. It reads, Kyiv has secret plan if Zelensky is killed. I'll read that again. It says Kyiv has secret plan if Zelensky is killed. Ukraine would likely be run by a governing council influenced by various ministers, the outlet has reported. If Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky were to be killed, he could be replaced by a select team of senior officials, with his legal successor acting as a figurehead, Politico reported on Monday, citing sources. The country's constitution clearly states that if the president is unable to fulfill his duties, it is the chairperson of the Ukrainian parliament. Currently, Ruslan Stefankuk, I tried to say that the best way I could. It says Ruslan Stefankuk who should take over. Okay. It says, however, according to the report, the latter figure is not particularly popular with the Ukrainian public, with an approval rating of only around 40%. That's pretty low. According to the Ukrainian officials and analysis interviewed by the outlet, this means that in the event of Zelensky's untimely demise, the country would be steered by a governing council, while Stefankuk would be its formal head. It would also consist of other members, including Audrey Ermak, the head of the presidential office, Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba, and Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov, Politico said. Valery Zosy, who currently heads Ukraine's military, is also expected to retain his post, according to the report. It says Adrian Canry, a non-resident senior fellow with the Atlantic Council, told Politico that Kyiv had a strong relationship team. Okay, they had a strong Slovakia. They had a strong leadership team, and we would see collective government. He added that if something terrible happened to Zelensky, it would not be a decisive as you might think. However, Politico warned that while this outcome may have limited impact domestically due to mixed opinions about the Ukrainian president and a strong sense of national unity, it would shocked Kiev's backers in the West, where Zelensky is widely regarded as an icon of resistance. In May 2022, Ukrainian president himself said that Kyiv had a plan B, accounting for the possibility of his debt, adding that country's cabinet had been split in two so that Ukraine would not be left defenseless should the worst come to pass. In March 2022, Mykolai Polak, Zelensky's senior advisor, said that his boss had survived more than a dozen attempts on his life, with several Western media outlets speculating in the early days of the conflict that Moscow intended to assassinate the Ukrainian president. However, in April of the same year, Kremlin press secretary Dmitry Peskov dismissed the notion that Russia had ever had such plans. That's the end of that article. And that don't sound too good for Zelensky. Okay? Because when you go into it, the mainstream media is telling you Ukraine has hope and that they're hanging in there. But the reality is they're not. All you have to do is follow Stephen Gardner, Colonel McGregor, Scott Ritter. Okay, those three sources. Redacted. You can get the logistics of how bad it is for Ukraine. The hundreds of thousands of dead troops. One report said up to 600,000. The numbers, they're not giving the true number, but that's a lot of dead bodies. And it looks as if the elites, I don't know, they may have used Zelensky up, and they might be, from the looks of reading this article, maybe the elites are just tired of using Zelensky because he didn't really achieve their objective. That's for certain. And poking Russia into a nuclear war, that still won't work out, right? From reading this article, it looks like Volodymyr Zelensky time is thinning out. And it's even more depressing here in America. You got all these major cities like New York, okay, California, like New York City, Los Angeles, California, Slovakia, Chicago, all these liberal cities that hoist that flag, and they just been hoisting the demise of hundreds and thousands of dead troops. Okay. Now there was reports of drone strikes in that region, but that's only going to cause a worse conflict. And America, as I've been saying, the United States of America, they're not in a position to go to war with Russia or China or North Korea or Iran. They're not in a position to do this. And it's been great deception by way of the mainstream media. Okay? And this end game, you know, what the elites are trying to push by way of your BlackRock and that umbrella, it's not going to end well. But the deception has misled a lot of people, especially here in the West. I won't have too many precepts. Let's read Jeremiah 9 and 8. Yeah, that's not that don't sound too good for Volodymyr Zelensky. Like his time is thinning. But we'll see. Let's get Jeremiah. Let's read Jeremiah 9 and 8. Because this has been a deception show anyways. The whole thing has been a giant deception show led by the mainstream media. And then you had the Babylonian Americans believe everything that's being pushed out to the masses. Okay. Jeremiah 9:8, it reads, their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit. One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he laid his weight. Okay. It's just a deception. Okay. I'll read that again. Because America been pushing this narrative that, Zelensky has been leading the charge to take down Russia, and it's been the total opposite. Okay, they've been getting destroyed from day one. And I think the elites, from reading this article, look like the elites, they're giving up on them. Okay. Jeremiah 9:8 from the top. It reads, their tongue is an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit. Okay. One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he laid his weight. The key is to speak a deceit. Okay. And it's been nothing but deception from the United States media. This forever war agenda, the only thing the elite's creating is a bloodbath. I'm not really speaking for the Ukrainians. I'm not on side with Ukraine or Russia, okay? But you do have Israel in the midst of that, okay? And I agree for the 12 tribes that's scattered abroad, right? It's just another geopolitical war. And the elites, they're just collecting all the insurance and they just want to rebuild. And that's their agenda. That's the agenda with this whole nuclear conflict. They think they're going to rebuild, but they're going to be met by Hamashiach Yahushua in the host of heaven. So they're just doing what they're set out to do until they're shut down, right? While this buildup continues, Israel got to focus and keep these commandments and not get jammed up, not get tossed to and fro by the silly media and the wickedness vibration that they pushing. And they chiefly push lies. Now people got to stop believing the lies. Right? Let's get that. We gonna end it. Let's get that. We gonna end this video. Yeah, but Zelensky is not sound like the elite done with him. From what I'm reading, from what I've read, looks like they're finished with Zelensky. But we'll see. It could just be a lot of hype. I don't know. Right? Let's read Ephesians. I want Ephesians 4:14. I think that's what I want. And this media has a bad influence on our people, man. This Jake don't fact check anything. This is really dealing with two parts of our people, but they don't really fact check much. This is really dealing with Israelites in the world. And it's not a good practice. But let's read this. Ephesians 4:14. That we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried away and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. And that's your American media, man. That's the American media wholesale. Right? That's all they do. They deceive with that media. That media don't tell the truth. The only time they really tell the truth if something happened in real time, like a hurricane or a twister or an earthquake. That's the only time the media's on point. Other than that, they're never on point. All they do is just send a wicked vibration of fables and their narrative. That's all these mainstream media is about. Let's read that again. Ephesians 4:14. That we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Okay. And this is the spirit America don't move in. Verse 15, but speaking the truth in love may grow up in him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. And America don't believe in Hamashiach Yahushai. They teach Caesar Borgias and they teach falsehoods. Okay. Let's read this one last time. Ephesians 4:14. It reads, that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. And America does a good job of that. That's why it's urgent to keep the commandments and stand firm in these last days while this build-up continues and the days of Jacob's trouble only accelerate. Okay? But with that, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Power of Israel, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Mashiach Yahushai. Double honor to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth and humbleness and sincerity. Israel, I love y'all. We got next. Shalom.